What if you were told that the multi-trillion-dollar global artificial intelligence and hyperscaler boom could be, brought to its knees for just $169 million?
It sounds completely absurd when you put it like that.
Right. I mean, 169 million is basically the price of a mid-tier luxury yacht. It's what giants like Nvidia and Google spend on electricity in a heartbeat.
Barely a rounding error for them.
Exactly. But as the incredibly detailed financial and supply chain analysis we are diving into today reveals, that number is the exact valuation of a tiny Japanese chemical company quietly holding up the entire global tech infrastructure.
Which really forces a complete reevaluation of what vulnerability actually looks like.
Yeah, so our mission for this deep dive is to map out this ultimate hidden choke point in the hyperscaler supply chain. We want to show you exactly how the invisible parts of the tech world are carrying the giants on their shoulders.
Because today we aren't just parsing through a spreadsheet of logistics or, looking at a standard chemical refinery. We are peeling back the massive server racks to examine the fragile atomic-level foundation that allows any of this to even function.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the scale of the disparity here is just mind-blowing.
It really is.
The source material points us to a company called Nippon Chemical, trading under the ticker symbol 4092. Let's just call them NCI for short.
Makes it easier, yeah.
So for a valuation hovering right around that $160 to $170 million mark, they hold an absolute stranglehold on a very specific material, which is high purity red phosphorus.
Right.
Specifically, they control roughly 26 to 27% of the global market for the 6N and 7N grades of this stuff. I mean, there is another company, Rasa, with a smaller slice and some capacity in China, but NCI is the unquestioned titan of this extremely niche space.
And to understand why that specific market share is so critical, we really have to look at what that material actually does.
Yeah, what is it used for?
Well, high-purity red phosphorus is an absolute prerequisite for modern data transmission. You take this red phosphorus and you combine it with a rare metal called indium.
Okay.
When you melt those two elements together under highly controlled conditions, you create an NNP substrate. That's indium phosphide.
And indium phosphide is the key to photonics. So for you listening, photonics is the science of using light, specifically lasers, to transmit data instead of using electrical signals over traditional copper wires.
Because copper is just too limited now.
Right. When we talk about training a massive large language model, the sheer volume of data being moved between servers is unimaginable. Copper wires are just way too slow, and they generate a massive amount of physical heat.
Which is a huge problem.
So to move that data, you have to use light. And to build the lasers that generate that light, you absolutely need those NNP substrates.
Which is where the purity aspect becomes the central barrier to entry. You mentioned 6N and 7N grades earlier.
Yeah, from the source.
That nomenclature refers to the number of nines. So 6N is 99.99999% pure, and 7N is 99.99999% pure. We are talking about refinement at the literal atomic level here.
Let me try to put that level of purity into perspective. Think of the AI data center, like a massive multi-billion-dollar artisan bakery.
Okay, I like this.
Everyone is focused on the famous chefs and the expensive ovens, but NCI is the only guy who knows how to make the specific high-grade yeast. Without the yeast, the bakery stops. Or, to use the source's context, think of an NMP substrate, like an incredibly smooth, frictionless ice skating rink.
Right.
The light from the laser, those are the skaters. If the rink is 99.99999% pure, flawless ice, those skaters can glide perfectly back and forth at the literal speed of light.
But if NCI's red phosphorus has even a microscopic flaw,
Yeah, it is the equivalent of throwing a handful of sharp gravel onto that pristine ice.
the skaters just trip and crash. I mean, in the physics of a laser, if a photon hits a stray atom of an impurity, say like a microscopic speck of iron or carbon, the light scatters.
It doesn't transmit clean.
Exactly. Instead of transmitting a clean signal, that collision creates heat. And in a hyperscaler data center, heat is the ultimate enemy.
Right, because if the laser generates too much heat, the transceiver burns out, the data packet drops, and suddenly your multi-billion-dollar system fails.
The entire operation requires atomic perfection to function at all.
Which completely shifts our understanding of where the real bottleneck is. I mean, for a long time, the broader financial market thought a company named AXT, ticker symbol AXTI, was the main choke point.
Right, because they are the ones who actually bake the indium and the phosphorus together to make the substrates.
Yeah, but AXT has absolutely been in the spotlight, and they are a vital player. But the analysis we are exploring today peels back one more layer. NCI is the bottleneck of the bottleneck.
Precisely. AXT cannot magically conjure those perfect NMP substrates out of thin air. They desperately rely on NCI to supply that flawless 7N red phosphorus.
If NCI's production lines stop, AXT's crystal growing ovens just go cold.
It's that simple.
So we've got this ultra-pure powder leaving a refinery in Japan. How does that powder ultimately turn into a ChatGPT query? The source material details this sprawling supply chain, and tracing the physical journey of this material is just wild.
It really exposes the fragility of the whole system.
It does.
Let's trace that physical geography, because the sheer number of massive tech conglomerates relying on this single thread is sobering. The journey actually starts in the Earth.
Mining, right.
Yeah, the company called BGC mines raw, crude phosphate rock.
Mhm.
At this stage, it's just raw material being loaded onto cargo ships.
And from the mine, it gets shipped to Japan, specifically to NCI.
Right. NCI takes that raw material, which begins as yellow phosphorus, and puts it through an incredibly volatile and complex refining process.
Because yellow phosphorus is highly reactive.
Highly reactive and dangerous to work with.
Yeah.
NCI fundamentally alters its chemical structure to turn it into that ultra-pure 6N or 7N red phosphorus. The barrier to entry here isn't just buying the raw rocks.
Right. It's the decades of proprietary chemical engineering knowledge to hit that 99.99999% purity at an industrial scale.
Exactly. And once NCI achieves that atomic perfection, the material moves down the line. It gets shipped to the crystal growers.
These are giants like Sumitomo, JX, and the one we just talked about, AXT.
Right. They take NCI's flawless red phosphorus, melt it with indium, and painstakingly grow the crystalline NMP substrates.
The word grow is crucial there, right?
No, it really is. You don't just stamp these substrates out on an assembly line. They are grown layer by molecular layer in highly specialized furnaces.
Wow.
And once those substrates are finished, they're handed off to the fabricators. Companies like Coherent, ticker COHR, and Lumentum, ticker LAAT.
Right.
They take those crystalline foundations and fabricate them into the actual physical lasers.
And the source material highlights a really telling detail right at this stage. The CEO of Lumentum, the very company making these lasers, has gone on record admitting that getting his hands on enough NNP substrates literally keeps him up at night.
It is a remarkable admission. I mean, you have the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech supplier, a man responsible for equipping the AI revolution, losing sleep over this exact chemical bottleneck.
Seriously. By acquiring NCI for what amounts to couch change in Silicon Valley, you could essentially give that CEO permanent insomnia. You would own the nightmare of the very companies building the AI infrastructure.
What's fascinating here is the macro implication of this entire sequence. Let's finish the chain. Lumentum finishes the lasers.
Okay.
Then packaging companies like Innolight and Fabrinet take those lasers and build them into optical transceivers.
Yeah.
Specifically, the ultrafast 800G and 1.6T transceivers.
Think of these as the massive high-pressure fire hoses of the data world.
Exactly. And finally, those fire hoses are sold by the truckload to NVIDIA and Google to connect their massive ASIC and GPU clusters.
So from a rock in a mine to a volatile refinery in Japan to the processing units that are currently writing code, analyzing genomes, and generating video, the entire Western world's production of these photonic substrates depends almost completely on this single, highly localized point of failure.
A failure point that the largest companies in the world simply take for granted as a constant. They just assume the raw materials will always be there.
But wait, let me push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because if you're listening to this, you might be looking at the global landscape and seeing a massive, highly capable manufacturing sector in China. The source material doesn't ignore this. It points out several Chinese chemical companies.
Players like Welton Chemical and Jinding Electronics. Yeah.
Right, and Guizhou, Walton Jingling Electronic Materials, Qinji New Materials, Chuxiang Chuanzi. There are over half a dozen of these massive domestic firms listed. China clearly has a robust chemical sector. Why couldn't the market just pivot to them if there were a sudden shortage in Japan?
It is a logical pivot to consider, absolutely. But the devil is entirely in the details of scale. Yes, those Chinese companies exist, and yes, they produce phosphorus. But the source material draws a very hard line regarding ultra-high purity requirements.
It's that purity barrier again.
Exactly. Producing 99% pure phosphorus for agricultural fertilizer or basic electronics is one thing. Producing metric tons of 99.999999% pure material without a single atomic-level bad batch is an entirely different scientific reality.
So they just can't hit that 7N purity at the massive, unrelenting volumes that a company like NVIDIA demands.
That is the core issue. They simply cannot make up for the capacity provided by NCI for NP substrate production at the required scale.
Right.
I mean, creating a flawless sample in a laboratory environment is achievable. Doing it reliably day after day by the ton requires legacy infrastructure and institutional knowledge that NCI has spent decades perfecting. And the source provides hard, undeniable proof of this reliance.
Right, the paper trail. This was the absolute smoking gun of the deep dive for me.
It's pretty damning.
The source highlights AXT's subsidiary, a company called Tongmei, and their recent star market listing in China. When they filed their IPO documents, they were legally obligated to outline their structural reliance on importing high-purity precursor materials from Japan.
Right.
They literally had to disclose to Chinese regulators that they could not manufacture their products without Japanese chemical refiners.
And when a company puts that in a legally binding financial disclosure, it cuts through all the market speculation. You can't fake that.
No, you really can't.
But the source goes even further. It cites WITS data. That stands for World Integrated Trade Solution. This isn't just financial forecasting. WITS tracks the physical, real-world movement of goods across borders.
Right.
And the WITS data shows roughly $460 per kilogram high-purity phosphorus physically flowing from Japanese ports right into China.
Wow. They wouldn't be importing it at that huge premium if they could just source it domestically at the volume they need.
Precisely the point, which raises a massive geopolitical reality about this supply chain. It's not just a Western vulnerability.
Well,
the irony here is that China's tech companies, which are racing to build their own massive AI hyperscalers, would be just as heavily disrupted if NCI were to suddenly go offline.
it is a truly global linchpin. Neither side of the technological race can sustain the AI build-out without this tiny node in Japan. NCI is totally agnostic to the geopolitics. They just make the flawless foundation that everybody everywhere desperately needs.
It's a shared vulnerability in the truest sense.
Hmm.
The foundational chemistry doesn't care about borders.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because if you are listening to this and you are following the logic, a massive question emerges.
Well, I know where you're going with this.
If this company is such a glaring structural vulnerability and it is priced at a mere $169 million, why hasn't Wall Street devoured it? Why hasn't a ruthless hedge fund swooped in, bought the whole thing, and cornered the global market to extort the hyperscalers? We see aggressive takeovers in the tech world every single day.
Right, and the numbers make that question even more urgent. Let's look at the financial reality check the source provides. NCI is currently trading at just 0.54 book value.
Let's pause and explain book value for a second, because it illustrates just how wild this pricing is.
Go for it.
Book value is essentially a calculation of what a company's raw physical assets are worth if you shut the business down and liquidated everything today. The real estate, the equipment, the cash in the bank.
The tangible stuff.
Exactly. If a company trades at a book value of 1, the stock market thinks the business is worth exactly the sum of its parts. NCI is trading at 0.54.
Yeah.
That means the market is pricing this critical AI bottleneck at barely half of what its buildings and chemical vats are inherently worth. You are buying a dollar's worth of assets for 54 cents.
And if we look at their earnings, their forward price to earnings ratio, the forward PE, is only 11.4. By almost any traditional value investing metric, it is objectively deeply undervalued.
It really is.
The source notes that just reverting to a completely standard book value of 1 would offer an immediate 80 to 85% upside for the stock. It is being priced like a stagnant legacy industrial firm, not the keystone of global photonics.
So the financial incentive to buy them out and jack up the prices is screamingly obvious. If you own the only high-purity red phosphorus and NVIDIA needs lasers today, you could charge whatever you want.
You'd think so, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to recognize that the spreadsheet is only half the story.
What's the other half?
The other half is Japanese corporate culture and, more importantly, Japanese federal law. Japan is notoriously averse to the kind of aggressive, short-term price gouging we often see in Western markets.
Right.
It fundamentally violates how business is traditionally conducted there, where long-term stability and reliable partnerships are prized over rapid, disruptive profit-taking.
That's the cultural baseline. But there are also legal teeth preventing a hostile takeover, right?
Oh, very sharp teeth. The source specifically names FEFTA,
Oh.
the Foreign Exchange and Foreign Trade Act. This is a robust piece of legislation designed precisely to protect national security and critical domestic industries, from malicious foreign interference. It exists to keep fundamental, irreplaceable technologies from being weaponized by outside actors.
So if a foreign buyer swooped in, acquired NCI, and then tried to hike the price of red phosphorus by, say, 15,000% to exploit the bottleneck, they wouldn't just face angry customers, they would hit a legal brick wall.
The Japanese government would step in instantly. They would almost certainly invoke FEFTA, recognize the massive national security and global economic risk of cornering that market, and simply seize the company right back or block the acquisition entirely. The regulatory blowback would be absolute.
So you can't just act like a comic book villain, buy the lair, and hold the world's laser supply hostage.
Yo, definitely not.
The sovereign government simply will not allow you to break the supply chain.
That is the regulatory ceiling. Now, the source does note that a more modest incremental price hike, perhaps 30 to 50% over time, might be possible.
Right, something reasonable.
Yeah, that kind of steady increase wouldn't trigger a national security crisis, and it could help compress that forward PE ratio, bringing the company's valuation closer to its actual intrinsic importance.
Okay.
But because of FEFTA and the cultural aversion to volatility, this stock is highly unlikely to experience a massive, speculative meme stock explosion.
Right. AXT became a massive momentum play for retail investors because it operates in a different regulatory environment. NCI won't be that.
Exactly.
But the lack of stock market fireworks doesn't change the underlying reality of the physical risk. The financial upside might be capped by regulation, but the structural importance of the company is entirely uncapped. It is still a massive vulnerability, quietly sitting there for $160-ish million.
And that reality creates a fascinating paradox. We have a global technology sector projecting trillions of dollars in future revenue, entirely dependent on a raw material whose price is artificially stabilized by the regulatory environment of a single nation.
Which brings up a question you might be asking right now. If NCI is the ultimate bottleneck, why aren't we seeing massive AI hyperscaler shortages today? Like, why isn't Google sounding the alarm that they can't get transceivers?
It's because the supply chain is currently in a state of delicate equilibrium. NCI is producing just enough to keep the ovens at AXT warm, and AXT is producing just enough substrates to keep Lumentum building lasers.
It's all perfectly balanced.
Exactly. The system is functioning. The danger isn't that the supply chain is broken today. The danger is that there is absolutely no slack in the system.
Oh, wow.
If NCI suffers a major industrial accident or a natural disaster strikes their facility, there is no backup plan. There is no massive reserve of 7N red phosphorus waiting in a warehouse to bridge the gap.
The skaters hit the gravel, the light scatters, and the trillion-dollar bakery stops dead.
Just like that.
You know, you started this journey with us today, probably thinking the AI revolution was controlled from the top down. You pictured trillion-dollar titans in Silicon Valley orchestrating every aspect of the future.
Most people do.
But you now know that a tiny $169 million chemical refiner in Japan is quietly holding up the entire global photonics market. Without NCI's flawless phosphorus, the lasers don't work. Without the lasers, the optical transceivers don't fire.
Right.
Without the transceivers, NVIDIA and Google's multi-billion-dollar server racks are just very expensive, very quiet pieces of metal generating heat.
It completely flips the script on how we assess technological supremacy. Power isn't just possessing the most advanced software or the most brilliant coders or the biggest data center.
No.
True, foundational power is holding the unsubstitutable atoms that allow the hardware to exist in the first place.
So what does this all mean? It means that when we look at the rapidly evolving tech landscape, we have to start looking exclusively at the slick, glamorous top of the pyramid. Finding these major points of failure in the deep supply chains changes everything about how we understand risk, innovation, and global interdependence.
It certainly does, and it leaves us with a fascinating, almost haunting premise to consider.
Yeah.
This raises an important question. If a single $169 million node can act as the Achilles heel for multi-trillion-dollar AI infrastructure, how many other sub-$200 million raw material refiners out there are quietly holding up other vital modern industries, completely unpriced and unnoticed by the world?
That is a wild thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We will catch you on the next one.